What's up YouTube, Jim here, and today we're going to drop the motor out of this 96 Trans Am. Originally I wasn't going to take the motor out because all I'm doing is regasketing the whole engine because it's leaking oil from everywhere. But as I was looking at it last night, I figured it'll just be way easier to pull this thing all the way out and regasket it on the engine stand. In my previous video you might have seen I dropped the transmission out already, so had I known I was going to drop the engine out of the bottom like this, I wouldn't have wasted my time dropping the trans out, but it created a good video for you guys anyway, so no harm, no foul. But so yeah, we're going to drop this thing out. The exhaust is already disconnected, the drive shaft and tranny's already off. Obviously you saw that in the last video. So what we got to do is basically disconnect the fuel lines, disconnect all the sensors, the wiring harnesses. That's pretty much it. A couple brake lines that go onto the K member because we're going to drop the whole K member down. And that's it. So let's get to it. We're going to start with the wiring harness. Alright guys, so before we start taking the wiring harness off, I guess I'm just going to take this airbox off first and clean it up a little so it's easier to just disconnect all those things. And I would drop the wrench. Made it easier. That. Oh. I'll address that too. The intake air temperature sensor is not really fitting in the box well. We're going to have to figure out a grommet or something to get it to fit in there properly. Alright, that opens all that up, so start by taking all these wiring connections off. So I find it easier to start furthest away from the harness and work towards the computer, the PCM, that's where they start. So basically what I'm going to do is just start over here, start pulling all these for the coil, the ICM, mass air, all that shit, and just work my way all the way back there and just swing them over the edge, get them out of the way. The only one you're going to have to worry about that's a little bit difficult, and not really because the car is jacked up nice and high, is right next to the knock sensor on the passenger side. The harness grounds to the block over there, so you got to unbolt that, and you also got to remember the purple wire that's on the starter. So I'm going to do that. You guys don't have to watch. You guys don't have to watch me do all that because that gets boring. So I'll shut you off, and you guys will come back when it's all done. Alright guys, so the wiring harness is completely unhooked up here. So now we just got to go down underneath the car and do the tricky one I was talking about. I'm just going to leave the starter there. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see that right there, but that purple wire that goes onto the starter has to come off. The knock sensor and the ground, it's kind of a mess up there, but once you crawl into your car you'll see it. There's the knock sensor. Alright guys, the harness is completely off, even down the bottom of the engine where the ground is and the knock sensor and all that bullshit. It's all up here and pulled over. The transmission ones are obviously disconnected because I took the trans out a couple days back. And those are also just propped up into the trans tunnel in there, so when we drop this down it doesn't catch any of the wiring harness. So what we got to do now is take the bolt out for the steering shaft right down there. Right there. And then we'll be able to just pound this bad boy right off. Sometimes it doesn't pound right off. You can take it off little by little as you're lifting it. And then we got to undo the front brake lines right here and right here and just disconnect those so that they drop with the K-member. And then we just got to disconnect the battery and let those lines go with it. Oh, and drop the power steering reservoir down with that. And that's pretty much it. So let's do it. Yeah, that thing's already loose. You should be able to pound that down. So that's that. I'm gonna go and get my line wrenches to deal with this so we don't fuck anything up. Alright, so these two lines right here go down to the front brake, so these have to come off and move down with the K-member. I soaked them down with some PB Blaster because these things are always a mess and they look like somebody's already messed them up anyway, so I'm going to try it with the line wrench. If it doesn't work with the line wrench, we're going to go right for the vice grips. Yeah, these things are rounded off to shit. Of course. Yep. So our last resort is the vice grip. If the vice grip don't work, well, we're screwed. the vice grip worked. That's good. Well, there's one. I don't know how the hell we're going to stop that from dripping. Oh well. I try not to make a mess in the driveway. Sometimes it's inevitable. And there goes that one. You know what? As we drop the K member, I'll feed those through. Probably be easier that way. Alright, now I think we gotta just take the battery cable off. Can't forget the brake booster. Obviously the coolant, we gotta drain some of the coolant out of the block so we can do this without making a mess. I think that's it. Another power steering reservoir. Put that back in there so we don't lose it. This looks like it's also a 10, probably a deep 10. We got to take the battery out. It's not gonna matter. This battery got fried last time. John was doing the PCM swap, or whatever had happened. Fried the terminals on the battery. Works though. Shit's mint. Alright, let's get the battery out of here. Oh, that makes for a lot more room for activities. Alright, so basically what we got to do is just disconnect these hoses off the water pump. That's pretty much it. I think we'll start lifting her after that. One more thing I forgot, guys, is the sway bar that connects to the body of the car right there and there, so we got to remove that. Soaked in oil over here. Alright, there's the sway bar. Alright, so we're draining the coolant now. Then I'm just gonna take the hoses off the water pump, disconnect the fuel lines. I think we're ready to go. So while we're waiting for the coolant to drain all out, we're going to take care of these fuel lines here. I got these quick disconnects that I use. I got them from AutoZone for like $3 or something. I think this is the right one. You see that? This basically just clips over the line, forces into the fitting, and then it pulls right off. Oh, it's backwards. And that's it. Now you got to do the same thing for the other line. Put it in and just pull it out. Now the fuel lines are disconnected. Gotta take the brake booster line out too. Whoa. Alright, that's the brake booster. Let's start taking these hoses off. if this guy's gonna need a screwdriver. This is surprisingly easy to take down. A lot of coolant left in that one still. Alright, it looks like we got a couple more over here. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. I think the LT1 water pump has more connections to it than any water pump I've ever seen in my life. Alright guys, I think that does it. Just gotta lower it down, take the tires off, put it on the dollies, and undo the shock towers. Let's do it. Well guys, for like the past hour and a half, I've been dicking around with these lug nuts. my friend whose car it is, he I don't maybe forgot to left the key here, or maybe it's in the car. I can't find it. So I tried some other things. I tried a lug nut pull off thing, supposed to get off strip lug nuts and keyed lug nuts, but that didn't work. It didn't fit. I can't even bang a socket on top because all my sockets have a recessed piece inside that knock onto that and don't allow the rest of the socket to stretch over it. So I'm having a bitch of a time. So I think I'm calling it a day for today, and this turned into a two-part video. I was trying to do this in one day, but looks like it's not happening. So this is where I'm stopping for today. So tomorrow I'll figure out how to get these lug nuts off. I'll get the dollies underneath here, hook up the jack, and pull this fucker out. Till then, see you later, YouTube.